children. Let me tell you of a very particular story. One so impactful to me that it's lived with me for my entire 104-year life. You see, when I was a young lady, I was in love with a wonderful man. Some considered a sadist, but I believed him to be the love of my life. His name was dear Aleister. Probably not the best soundtrack to go with it, but he still was my love. And one day, when I was riding at the bow of the Titanic with this young man, whose name I believe was Jack, who held me as I said, "I can feel the wind, Jack, blowing through my hair." I had a pendant around my neck, and I dropped it into the ocean, and that pendant was from dear, dear, dear Aleister. And you know what else I love in addition to Aleister? Chocolate. I love chocolate. Chocolate's my favorite.
And that is the story of the love between Veronica McThusian.
That was quite the crossover.
And Aleister. You notice a little SpongeBob
Yeah.
in there? Yeah.
SpongeBob.
Chocolate. Oh, chocolate.
Iconic episode.
Yeah.
And you brought in Rose.
I remember when chocolate cost, it was a nickel.
Or something like that.
I remember when a quarter cost a nickel.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
Are they still making new episodes of SpongeBob? Pretty sure they are.
Probably, yeah.
It's been so long since I've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was another intro. I guess this is a theme now where I make these strange fever dream intros. That
So Rose from James Cameron's Titanic
yes,
was in love with Aleister Crowley in this monologue that you just did. That's a hot take again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the actress's name?
Kate Winslet.
Her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I loved it.
Thank you. You're my only fan.
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to be, extra silly because I'll be
depressing.
honest. This is not my favorite one. I'm not really looking forward to talking about this one.
Well, I'll be looking forward to it. Welcome to History Out of the Box. This is episode 17 of History Out of the Box, and I'm Cam. My name's Cam.
And I'm Jen.
And we don't have a jingle because this is not the right podcast for that. We have a jingle on another podcast. Shout out Wolf and Bull. With that being said, welcome. If you happen to like what you hear, if you happen to like what you see before we jump into the episode, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram. We're also on TikTok, and we are on the Tube, not the boob tube, YouTube. You saw what I did there? An old boomer reference. I did it.
We're looking at branching out a little more, getting a couple other pages going, getting our website up and running.
Takes a lot. It's a lot, but we're not here to complain about it.
No, we're excited.
So if you like what you see, you like what you hear, go ahead and follow us on all the major listening platforms and give us a subscription on YouTube. We have new episodes auditorily on Tuesdays and videos on Wednesdays.
That's right. And hopefully you're coming off the back of Vlad the Impaler, which we just did the previous episode. And then L. Ron Hubbard, a 1 and 2-parter.
Yeah.
We're doing this for spooky season. Of course, it is currently October something. We're
26th.
Yeah, this is obviously coming out
when you
a little
hear
later.
this, the audio version will be coming out, and hopefully the video version will be coming out on spooky day. So
Spooky
Hopefully,
Halloween.
Yep.
So if it is Halloween, happy Halloween.
Yeah, if
we made it.
We made it
today.
The world didn't end. If it is a day later, I had failed in my mission, but you're still listening to this. So did I fail? No, I didn't.
Well,
I win either way.
We were trying to do some interesting historical figures.
Why is it on a Tuesday? Why is it always on a weekday? It can just be on a weekend for once.
Oh no.
When was the last weekend Halloween? When was the last time?
Last year, wasn't it? Sunday?
No, was it a Sunday? Why would it?
I don't remember.
Maybe it might have been.
I've spent the last couple Halloweens in my house doing...
Let's not get too depressing. That makes this way scarier.
No, it's great. I get to watch a movie. I get to eat food. It's great.
Okay, cool. Yeah. You're like a hobbit.
Well, are you ready for this interesting man?
Well, yes, but I need to I wonder why this bothers you. You say he's interesting. What bothers you about him?
I'm going to be frank. I'm approaching this episode after doing some studying. I don't frankly love this guy. Don't like him.
Okay.
Don't like him too much.
He's a douchebag?
Yeah, for several reasons. I just don't like him. I don't like the guy. So keep that in mind as we go through this, that it's clouded with my bias against him. However, very famous name. We did mention him in the L. Ron Hubbard, I believe, Part 1 episode.
Yeah, I mentioned him via a very famous Ozzy Osbourne song, which I'm not sure if it's about him, but it kind of makes sense. Mr. Crowley.
Right, yes. No, that was about him. That was about him. We mentioned that later in this episode, too.
You see that recent clip of Ozzy Osbourne where he comes out of the room and he's like, Sharon, you took my beer, Sharon. You took my beer. And Sharon's like, I didn't take your beer out of your bedroom. It's 9 a.m. in the morning. And he's like, my beer, Sharon. Like I don't know if he's all the way there.
Oh, well, that wouldn't shock me.
I love his music. Great music. And kind of an interesting character.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't come out of your bedroom at 9 a.m. and you're looking for your beer. I mean, that's either a hell of a party or a hell of a Monday.
It was a great night or a really interesting morning.
Yeah, a bad morning full of Zoom meetings.
Well, yes. In one of his songs, he does mention Mr. Crowley. We are talking about Aleister Crowley, who was the English occultist, magician, and poet, and at the behest of some of our most loyal listeners, including you.
Yes, I am at the forefront.
He was our next topic. We've been requested. And he was a man of many fields, a painter, a mountaineer, actually.
What?
Yes. But well known for some of the weird stuff he was up to throughout his life. And since we're on the theme of people founding religions, this is another guy who's in that category, same as Mr. L. Ron Hubbard.
Well, there seems to be like a specific time period. Like there was late 1800s was like this guy, and then wasn't Mormonism like 1800s?
There might have been some sort of the 1800s, I believe.
So
but there might have been a trend, but also I think that it happens today too. It's just smaller pockets.
A lot more red flag, like red tape to get through.
Well, think about it. You start a religion. There is stuff today. In fact, I'll have to show you afterwards. There's like TikTok religions and stuff like that. But anyway, we're on that same thing. Are you ready?
I'm Cam. Welcome to History Out of the Box. And if you're thinking about joining a religion without thinking any further about whether you should or not, go ahead and join ours. There is Religion of History. We read about history, we read into people, we look at people and say, ooh, not a good thing to do. You murdered all those people. But we do learn about them, and we wonder to ourselves, why in the world? Why did this person have so much influence? So if you're really desperate for companionship, maybe for some friends, maybe for some fun stuff to listen to, then go ahead and tune into the History Out of the Box religion. It's not a religion, it's a podcast. And a podcast is just that, a way of life. Thanks.
Beautifully said.
Thanks.
All right. That was our little trailer for our podcast religion we're starting. You know how it goes.
Yeah, that would be a strange, what do we do? Like, what is the premise? We learn
too much
about
work.
History. No, you just get people to do the work for you. I mean, it's just too much history. Like, I mean, at what point do we stop considering the history? Is it only on Saturdays, Sundays, and Tuesdays? Or are we doing like a once a week thing, multiple thing? Is it like a backgammon get together? Like everyone plays a card game and we all just, or a board game? I'm not even sure what backgammon is, to be realistic.
Well, maybe you can take some notes.
Like, when does it stop is what I'm asking. I mean,
it never stops.
So we talk about L. Ron Hubbard. We're going to talk about Crowley. I'm just kind of filling space because this seems like the notes are not as long. With that being said, when do they stop? When does the religion stop and life begin?
Never. Always.
Yikes.
Somewhere in the middle.
So you're not giving me a solid answer there. It's just one of three.
Just take some notes from Crowley. Don't worry. We'll fill the space. There's enough. I'm sure you'll have enough commentary throughout this. Trust me.
Wow. Okay, now I'm reading the notes. Haven't read them yet, if it's not apparent. Interesting. Let's go ahead and jump right into Aleister Crowley and maybe into some other areas of Aleister Crowley.
Notably, he founded the religion of Thelema. And that...
Thelema?
Thelema?
Thelema? The Llama?
The Llama.
The religion of the Llama.
The Llama.
We had another reference to
Thelema,
llamas.
I thought is what it was.
We're going to call it the Llama because that makes more sense.
This is the religion that L. Ron Hubbard actually joined in Pasadena, California when he met his second wife, Sarah.
The Llama. What sound do llamas make? Ah, that's the llama sound.
Perfect. Aleister did go by a couple other names, including the Great Beast 666, Perabduro, and Ankh-f-nkhonsu.
No, Perabduro.
There's a name here, and I think like ancient Egyptian that I can't pronounce.
Ankh-f-nkhonsu. I feel like we're like trying to summon an ancient demon monster.
Well, that sounded like his kind of thing.
His name, like he referred to himself as the Great Beast 666.
Well, there was a name, but just prepare yourself.
Well, look, the only reason I'm asking is because like at what point in time does one individual say, "This is my name, and you will call me this," and everyone else just kind of either goes, "No," or
he
"Yeah,
had
sure."
a lot of interesting demands. Aleister isn't his real name.
Good thing.
Well, you'll see.
Okay.
Let's launch into the life.
Oh, wait, by the way, I didn't mention this. We are the only history podcast in existence that connects our listeners to the ghosts of their historical pasts.
Thank you very much.
I sound like one of those people that does like the bidding, like 1600, 1700, like that type of thing. That's what I imagine they say. Yeah. Anyway, Aleister Crowley.
You ready?
Yep. No.
Okay, let's go. Early life. Mr. Aleister Crowley. Born Edward Alexander Crowley, he was born in Royal Leamington Spa, Warwickshire, England on October 12th, 1875. We just went past his birthday earlier this month. Yes, his original name was Edward. And the house he was born in is still standing today. It's 30 Clarendon Square. You can look it up on Google Earth, or if you happen to live in London, pop on over. Take a peek. Actually, don't be that person.
Does anyone own the house?
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's a house. Here, you and I grew up on the West Coast of, we grew up in Southern California, where the oldest houses that are possibly there have been turned into dentist's office,
Or strip clubs.
In London, it's a different story. They've got older houses.
Into pubs.
Yeah, sure.
Is it different? Is it different?
Well, the house is still there. His father, Edward Crowley, was the heir to a brewing fortune and an evangelist for the Plymouth Brethren. And he was a traveling preacher. He would read a chapter of the Bible at breakfast every morning. And little Edward, remember, his original name is Edward. So much better. His mother's name was Emily Bertha Bishop. And essentially, his parents were wealthy and devout Christians.
So, not a big thing to read a chapter of the Bible every morning before breakfast, because sometimes the chapters are like really short.
I feel like if you're someone who has never actually picked up the Bible, you
think this is a big thing? No, it's literally
a chapter of the Bible could be literally like a paragraph and a half.
Yeah.
Depending on the book, depending on the
like Thessalonians, not that long of a book. I mean, like Philippians, not super.
Unless you're
long.
sitting in Deuteronomy and you're like begot. Well,
that was Genesis.
No, isn't it Deuteronomy?
Well, one of those two. There's an Old Testament.
You and I need to brush up on our Bible, apparently.
Well, don't include me. I mean, I don't need to know.
This must be sacrilege to be talking about the Bible while also talking about...
Not really. Crowley. No, how's his history where he came from? Look, we're not saying that he was right. I mean, like, my whole point is like, dude, like, you're going to name a religion Thelema, you got to figure out a different name. I mean, like, honestly.
Thelema.
Better name. There's better names. But I'm just saying it's just not that big of a thing to read a chapter before breakfast.
It's just notable to say that because he did grow up in a very devout Christian family.
Why is that always the case? You get that? Like, it's always like, it's super, like, people who are like super anti all of that always grow up in like a really stringent family. And I'm just like, you do know that your parents aren't perfect, right?
Well, there could be psychology here that we can discuss later on because it is very interesting.
Okay, well, breakfast and Bibles. Let's go.
Right. At age 8, young Edward went off to Ebor Preparatory School in Cambridge, and he was considered, the reverend at the school wasn't very nice. Let's just put it that way. Edward called him a sadist later in life, the literal reverend of his preparatory school. And at age 11, Edward's father passed away of tongue cancer, which is tragic. Tongue cancer? Yeah.
How does that work?
Dude.
Do you not talk?
I'm sure you can't talk at some point, but yeah.
Okay,
cancer,
well, we're not going to...
Sucks.
Yeah.
Apparently, this devastated young Edward. And he later maintained that his father was his hero and his best friend. And he misbehaved at school constantly after the death of his father, which, not shocking. That happens a lot when kids lose their parents when they're very young. The school was punishing him very severely for this misbehaving. And he developed something called this is a hard word.
Albuminuria,
right. It's a condition where a certain protein is abnormally present in the urine. And I was kind of curious as how this connected, but I because in all the research I was doing for this, they kept making a point that like the severe abuse was connected to this
what
abnormal protein, and I couldn't really put
it. Is he pee?
It's like a
blue pee.
It's like maybe foam or something. Like it's a very specific. Yeah.
Ooh, so he pees bubbles.
I don't really remember.
Yikes.
Want to get too deep into that, but yeah,
well,
he was severely abused when he was a kid by
Eventually
his
we
school.
should, but okay, that's great.
Now, soon after, the young boy began ridding himself of all dedication to Christianity, and he began masturbating, smoking.
Okay, listener discretion and viewer discretion advised. We're not gonna get any money from this, but that's okay. Well, revenue gone. I'm kidding. I'm joking. I really don't care.
Well, he was, having sex with prostitutes.
As a child?
When he was a young teenage boy. Yeah.
Bro.
If you're paying, who cares?
Homie.
I told you his dad was
Slade.
His dad was a heir to a huge brewing fortune.
So this is interesting. So best friends with his dad, but then got rid of everything that his dad believed in.
Yeah, he was.
So
it's very interesting.
That tells me that that's not true. He wasn't friends with his dad.
Well, he says that his dad was always his friend and his hero. But then as he was a teenager, he literally threw out everything about the religion. His dad was like
I 100%
religious.
believe that isn't true at all. He wasn't telling the truth.
Well,
because here's the thing is these guys who started these religions, the Lama religions, they're always very truthful.
Well, at some point, he started taking a stance against Christianity in school too. Like he would argue with the staff and the whoever was working at the school and like
an angry kid,
quote Sunday school, whatever they call it at the time.
Angry kid, very
He actually contracted gonorrhea as like a young teenage boy.
Wow.
His mother actually started calling him the Beast. He clung to that name like a trophy. Like
so
he adapted that name.
Yeah. So let's go through this. So he obviously did not have a good relationship with his parents. Like did not have a good relationship with his parents in any way. And his father passed away. It traumatized him because he probably didn't have any resolved issues there. But I assume he probably had some sort of like Freudian obsession with his mom because that's kind of a weird thing to adopt as like a trophy.
Well, yeah.
Like my dad and mom called me like
it was like
butthole face. And I got super happy about that. Like I referred to myself in third person as butthole face all the time. And it just was like a little trophy. I got myself a trophy, like yay big. Right. I put on my mantle, butthole face, showed a butt and my face in between going like, like that type of thing. Like, I just feel like there's some he's fibbing. I'm getting the fib vibes.
Well,
he's fibbing. He's a fib.
But he and his mom weren't getting along at all.
You don't say.
And he sort of took this nickname that she was giving him and he said, fine, I'm the Beast. That's me.
How brave.
Yeah. Well, he went to Malvery School and Tonbridge College before moving on to Cambridge, and he hated both of those previous schools. So, yeah, but remember...
He still did his homework?
Well, wait.
Wait. So he's... Wow. Okay, so this complicates things. So he didn't have a good family relationship and contracted gonorrhea by just playing with adult women. Did drugs, right?
Yeah.
Was drinking, partying, living the beast life.
Smoking, for sure.
Smoking, doing all the stuff. Loved his dad, supposedly, but hated his dad because he didn't follow in his dad's footsteps. And normally, it's kind of not how things work. You really like your parents. You kind of follow in their footsteps. You like them. Or you do it if you hate them. So maybe his dad was doing that too. So we're not sure. With that being said, gets good grades and then goes to Cambridge. How does
it's different there? It's not like us trying to get into USC, dude. It's not the same.
Okay, so cool. You just fail your way upward to Cambridge University
when you're heir to a brewery fortune.
Oh yeah.
Think about this for a second.
Oh yeah, he's basically Pabst Blue Ribbon. He's
a Pabst Blue Ribbon heir. Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah,
I'm not shocked.
Riding the waves of Bud Light.
I've met many people who come from wealthy families with zero brain that somehow have the accolades that shock me.
It's just what it does is it tells you that anyone can get them and they're pointless. That's what it does. And I hate to say that. I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm not saying there's no benefit or there's nothing to be. I'm not saying there's nothing to be found in education. It just means that if I can gonorrhea and drug my way through in England, to Cambridge University.
I might be wrong about this, so I'm sorry if I am, but I'm pretty sure that those are like public, like you can go Cambridge? For free.
Maybe, but I feel like they'd still have some rules. Cambridge is very prestigious.
I'm not 100% sure about that, so I might be totally wrong.
Stop being an American, okay?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Stop being American. Okay. With that being said, like you just fail your way into Cambridge?
I come from America where we go in debt to go to school. Okay. So.
No, you could also fail your way into the presidency, so that makes sense. All right, let's talk about his college time. Yeah, we have almost every single one of them. But let's go to our college times with Mr. Crowley. Let's go ahead and do that. I love that song. I'm sorry, it's a great song.
Young Edward went off to Trinity College then at the University of Cambridge to study natural sciences, and then he later switched to English literature, which...
That's
quite the change.
That is, wow.
I did quite the change like that too, but that's talking about me, not Mr. Crowley.
Yeah, what are you doing? This isn't about you,
I'm not going to compare myself to this man.
Yeah, what are you doing?
And there, he began using the name Aleister. And he said he started using it after a trip to Sweden in December of 1896 when he was about 20 years old. He said that there, he actually experienced a life-changing vision, and he was called to change his name. Yeah, and it's later stated that in his autobiography that Aleister was the Gaelic form of Alexander, and it fulfilled his romantic ideals of what his name should be. He just wanted to throw out the name Edward, which might be because his dad was named Edward.
Yeah, this guy and I would not get along. I can tell you this right now.
I really hope we wouldn't get along.
We would not get along. I would probably want to fight him. I can already tell. I can tell the type of guy he is. I get the vibes. Took a feminist women's studies class, and now he's the champion of women type thing. Like, I get the vibes. I get that vibe from him. I'm not liking it. Not saying the guys can't take that. They should take that. Do whatever you want to. I'm just saying he's one of those guys where he's like...
Got a superiority complex?
No, well, yeah, but he's also like, he shows up at the bar and like he goes up to the chicks and just kind of weird, just kind of creepy. Just says like the weird, creepy things.
Well, I should probably warn you that it's speculated by several biographers that on this trip to Sweden in December of 1896, Crowley experienced his first same-sex sexual experience. Because Crowley was a bisexual man. So
it's not going to prevent me from talking shit on him. So
I mean, it shouldn't.
Yeah, sorry. Explicit language. Don't care. This guy was L. Ron Hubbard was a very, very interesting individual. This guy inspired Mr. Hubbard, which makes me wonder about Mr. Hubbard's sexuality now. But with that being said, no, don't care.
Yeah, so he had quite the affinity for chess, which is kind of like I kept seeing that pop up, which I thought was kind of interesting. If you play chess at all, maybe you could psychology that, like, why? Who loves chess? Like, that's such a
he obviously
strategic game.
It's strategic, but it's also provides some level of having to be conscious of your decisions. So he has some level of conscious awareness of the type of decisions that he makes, even though he may not have been aware of how he was definitely projecting.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that could be it.
Like definite projected, like projecting 100%.
Yeah. Well, he also liked to pen poetry, and he was dreaming of future travels. Very nice. All the good things you like to do in college, right?
So cute.
Yeah, but he was also no sweetheart of a college boy.
You don't say.
He was deep diving in his brain into borderline sadistic sexual relationship fantasies with both men and women by his writings. And he was thinking up plans of magical domination over all of those around him, which plays into the rest of his life. Okay? He was sleeping with many women while he was there, lots of prostitutes, and he actually contracted syphilis and partook in many same-sex relationships as well. Those were illegal at the time, but he didn't care.
He didn't care. He didn't care about the people around him either because he contracts syphilis. I have to assume he didn't get clean before going to syphilize the
I'm
people
gonna just make a wild speculation.
Box of disease.
Oh, wild speculation that he wasn't going to each new sexual partner and being like, "Hi, I need to warn you that I have syphilis."
No, definitely not. In fact, penicillin kills syphilis, right? So I don't know how available that was at the time. I have to imagine it was somewhat available because the Tuskegee experiments kind of played with that, and that was a whole other thing. But still, I don't know. That's just college. See, this is a lesson, guys. I hate to be the Debbie Downer. I really hate to be the Debbie Downer here. I hate to be the Debbie Downer because it makes me sound like I'm no fun, and that's not true. I'm a bundle of fun. When it comes to all this stuff, though, there is a reason why there are warnings when it comes to being A man starts with a W.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's fill in the blank.
Yeah. I mean,
Gotcha.
Or.
Yes.
There's reasons. Same on the other side. I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm not giving advice here. I'm just saying there's a reason why.
Well,
Don't want civil.
college was fun for Aleister.
It was.
But like so many today, Aleister didn't earn a degree.
Of course not.
He instead dropped out in 1898 despite having excellent marks. Just dropped
I know
out.
there's this whole argument like where like the intelligent geniuses like don't do. That's not true. Like, the geniuses, they do finish quite fast. I mean, Albert Einstein is one of them. I mean, they do finish quite fast because it's easy to them because they're geniuses. But I think that it's what interests me is the guy's he's like, oh, dude, I'm so dark, bro. My name's Aleister now, and like I have sex with prostitutes, dude, and like school's for dummies. But I'm gonna do all my classwork and get good grades, and then I'm gonna quit. What?
Yeah. Well, he made something of his life. Whether that's a good or a bad thing is up for debate.
Because back then there were no rules, and people just believed it if you said you were a leprechaun.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say that.
Well, you never know.
Well,
Would you have believed me back then if I had said I'm a leprechaun?
No.
Exactly. Because you're from today.
He had inherited quite a bit of money, which also is kind of helpful for someone who doesn't, bother finishing school. If you're coming into a lot of money, it's like, nah.
He was the equivalent of the trust fund baby that lives in the New York apartments that talks about how we should switch the economic strategy in America to benefit the poor while they get to live in their shiny golden castle. He was that.
Well, he was free to travel.
I bet he was.
And do whatever he wanted. He also just did that. Didn't stop him. He published a book of erotic poetry in 1898, and he was able to fund his work on his own. Self-published, baby. When you got the money, you can do whatever you want.
One fish, two fish, sexual bluefish.
Yeah, that's word for word. His number one poem.
Oh my God. Okay.
But let's get into the weird stuff. Occultism,
Great.
which is what Aleister Crowley is known for. This kind of bleeds into the rest of his life. So, we're getting ready. We're getting ready. Are you ready?
We could stop now and I could know exactly what's going to happen. This is, for all of you who listen to creepy stuff, you kind of know where this is going to go. So welcome to the very spooktacular part of the episode.
Being an outspoken religious skeptic in the 19th century, it's no surprise that Mr. Crowley here fell in with the occult, which was popular, you're right, at the time. He liked to write erotic and esoteric poetry. One time, a critic actually described his work as, quote, the most disgusting piece of erotica in the English language. Nice.
Well, they didn't read, they didn't read 50 Shades of Grey.
Not yet. In 1898, he joined up with the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It was he met another member who was a chemist. I love how these all are like scientists.
I don't look. This is what. Okay, no, stop. No, stop. This is what gets me. Okay, guys, please, someone explain to me, please. Someone explain why all these people who have these high-ranking educations, these occupations, why do they join these stupid clubs and then look at something like Christianity or any other religion and say, that's for people who are dumb? Meanwhile, you're at the Hermitage the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, picking your butts, doing whatever stuff you want to do, as if that's somehow serious.
Well, this other member was Julian L. Baker from Switzerland, a chemist in Switzerland. And this group was made up of what is called Rosicrucians.
Huh?
Rosicrucianism was a spiritual and cultural movement born in the 17th century. It focused on the practice of natural laws within the universe, paranormal activity, and the like. Yes, that was this group.
They were Zach Baggins.
Basically.
The natural laws.
Ghost adventures.
Okay. Oh my God. Why are we still here?
It was also very like, no, I'm sorry to everyone who likes this book. I'm sorry, but lots of like the secret practices, like manifest magic, stuff like that.
Why are we still here? Why? Well, no, like not you and I, not Cam and Jen, just general humanity.
Oh, there's big fans of Crowley still today that sort of follow things he said and did. And yeah, no, this is not like rare at all. In fact, I would argue that a lot of people use these practices. It's more common than you think. It's just doesn't have the same label on it, But anyway, this group had another in it that Crowley seemed to butt heads with. His name was William Butler Yeats, famous poet at the time. Yeah. Lots of famous people.
This is the same. This is like the guys who are. What is the thing in Hollywood where they're all like wearing like red the red bracelet? What is this stupid thing?
Oh, Kabbalah or Kabbalah.
Whatever.
It's like a sect of.
It is.
I don't want to get it wrong.
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
My whole thing is the same thing. It's just a fancy club. It's a fancy spook club, and they all pork each other under the guise of whatever they think to be true.
What was that one? It was like a religion / MLM / human trafficking ring or something. NXIVM.
Oh yeah. It's like that. I just wonder, like, what? Look, it's one thing to be a part of something like Christianity or Islam or Judaism or any major religion out there, because I want to include everyone. I want to be friendly. I like that. Everyone can get along. It's one thing to be a part of those things and then be like, this is kind of crazy. I'm not really a part of it. I'm gonna leave, and then to leave and then join that.
Yeah, well,
like, how is it any different? Literally, how is it any different? It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. On its face, it's not. On the paper, it's not. I'm not saying it has any less credence or any more credence. I'm just saying it is literally, humanity-wise, the same type of actions. I'm not saying the theologies are the same. Not what I'm arguing. I'm just saying from a psychological. It's like you showing me an apple and then showing me an orange and saying what's different. And I say nothing. They're both fruit. Categorically, it is kind of the same. Granted, there are differences. They're both fruit.
Yeah. Well, this is like the very beginning, so
great.
Buckle up.
That's wonderful. Let's learn more about the Rosicrucianism.
A senior member of this group, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Senior member became Crowley's live-in tutor on the subject. Together, they practiced ceremonial magic and ritualistic usage of drugs. Sounds like a roommate.
I wouldn't be able to be a part of any of this. I would laugh.
Yeah, well,
I would literally make fun of it. I'm just not. I can't.
Upper level Golden Dawn members saw his actions as acceptable, but they saw him as like too unhinged. Like they didn't like Crowley. He was irresponsible with what he was doing.
His actions were acceptable?
Yeah, they were like, oh, we're not going to stop him, but they didn't want to permit him into the upper levels, like advance him in the Golden Dawn, which is hilarious. They're like, we'll keep him around, but no leadership for you. You're unhinged.
What are the requirements?
I don't know.
Why?
Yeah.
We make too many things. We create too many dumb things with too many dumb rules and pretend as if they're serious.
Yeah.
Too many. We got to stop. Go back to pre-tool periods. We just start hunting and gathering. No more.
Well, maybe he liked the idea because remember, he's a mountaineer, right?
I bet he is. I bet he climbed so many mountains. Probably climbed them all.
Well,
probably climbed Everest before it was mounted. So he probably was there first.
After being turned down by the Golden Dawn, Crowley set off to travel the world. He went to Mexico, Japan, Hong Kong, India. He practiced Raja Yoga, and he was investigating Hindu meditation traditions. He was basically cherry picking. This is not that unusual. I told you it's not.
He's
cherry picking a bunch of stuff from religions.
Yeah, he's literally doing what every single person who is trying to establish their own identity within society does when they discover new things from other cultures. They just kind of take a bunch of them and mix them into a big old pot and say, that's what I believe. And it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. He took a great interest in mountaineering, beginning in in Great Britain, but those were like hills compared to what he was about to do.
Yeah.
He then launched himself into the big league by attempting to summit both K2 and Kanchenjunga.
Kanchenjunga, yeah.
Second and third tallest mountains in the world. And in 1902, you'll love this. In 1902, his K2 expedition reached 20,000 feet, but they turned around. It had never been summited at the time. It was, pretty far to go.
Yeah, it's one of the hard 1 in 4 death rate.
Yes.
It's still like Kanchenjunga is right up there too. Like they're both. I know this because I have a side interest in learning about mountaineering. With that being said, not easy.
Yeah.
Also happy that guy did not summit as the first person on K2. Thank God. God exists. Thank you.
He fell ill with malaria and influenza on that trip. Snow blindness was a huge issue for his party, so they're lucky to have made it at all. This next one is very interesting and gives you maybe a glimpse at this guy. Okay. The Kanchenjunga expedition resulted in tragedy.
Of course it did.
In 1905, the expedition resulted in 4 of his fellow climbers perishing in an avalanche. And what's been stated is that Crowley ignored their cries for help after the incident because he had warned them previously that the route they were taking was dangerous and they hadn't listened to him. So out of spite, he apparently let them die in the avalanche.
So I hope he hears this in the afterlife. Aleister Crowley was a bitch. He was a bitch. A little bitch. I'm sorry. I'll say the same about some of the other people we've talked about, kind of in the same category. That category of person where it's like, if there was something to go wrong, you'd let me die.
Here's the thing. That is obviously you can only take third party. You can only take third party. What they said, he said, ignored, whatever. We don't have.
You want to know how I know? Because he was porking prostitutes. He was a bitch.
Well,
he's a little bitch.
He wasn't just, as you would say, quote, porking prostitutes.
He did that a lot.
In November of 1902, Crowley moved to Europe, and he settled in the city of love, Paris, France.
Oh, wonderful.
Being a man with money, he could network with the likes of Gerald Kelly, famous painter at the time, many other famous people in the area. But Gerald Kelly is notable because Kelly's sister, her name was Rose, was quite taken with Aleister Crowley. And likewise,
I wonder if she would have been had she heard about the Kanchenjunga tragedy.
Well, to avoid her entering an arranged marriage, Rose and Aleister were quickly married in what sounds like a fan fiction type scenario. By the way, you just mentioned the Kanchenjunga. This is a little out of order because he climbed Kanchenjunga after this. Oh,
so she was with him when that happened. Oh, cool.
She wasn't on the mountain, but yes.
Yeah, interesting. Yes. That's very cool. Very nice.
Back to what I was saying. To avoid her entering into an arranged marriage, Rose and Aleister were quickly married. Isn't that interesting? They did fall in love, but not at first. It was just a matter of saving her from this arranged marriage, apparently. But Crowley and Gerald, they were no longer friends, and her family was absolutely furious. They did not like Aleister at all. Shocker.
I wonder why anyone wouldn't.
Well,
I wonder why.
It's interesting because Rose went along with his schemes and she traveled the world with him. She was a very dutiful wife.
Well, in order to give our listeners and our viewers a break from this ear cancer and eye cancer, not me, story. I'm not eye cancer. I'm beautiful. So are you. Let's take a quick break so I can rub my eyes with alcohol and fill my ears with wasps. And we're back, and I was going to do a little sound thing, but I don't think it deserves. This episode only gets one of those. It doesn't deserve another intro. I'm sorry. I don't look with Elron, good old Lafayette, the manliest name in the world. I could do that because his was funny.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Do I think he was self-aware? Maybe, but his stuff was so out there. Where it was kind of like what the old Looney Tunes cartoons where it's
sure.
You're kind of watching the main character Tom and Jerry, and Tom's like Jerry's the mouse, so he's the protagonist, and Tom's the antagonist, but Tom's kind of silly, and you're kind of rooting for Tom a little bit, and Jerry's kind of a little douchebag. I feel like Tom was L. Ron Hubbard. You're kind of he's kind of a wily little rascal, could be getting that wrong. Maybe he's Jerry. Either way, he was kind of a rascal. This guy, I just don't like this guy. He's not likable.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's likable either, but I don't think he really cared if you liked him or not.
Yeah, whatever.
But, all right, let's talk about the religion stuff. Okay. Let's talk about it.
Let's do that.
Rose played a huge part.
I bet she did.
Okay.
Stockholm Syndrome will do that to you.
After visiting Cairo, Egypt in 1904, Rose told her husband that the Egyptian god Horus was waiting for him.
A little on the nose.
The two of them had claimed to be a prince and a princess, and they had rented an apartment in Cairo to set up a, quote, temple to worship the Egyptian deities.
No rules. You
could get away with a lot.
No, you could get away with everything. There were no rules. People did not fact check. It just didn't exist. I literally, I could have ruled the world. Because no one would have ever questioned anything that I say. Because I would just say it with such firm positioning that they'd be like, well, obviously, he couldn't be lying. And now it's like, literally, you say the truest thing ever, and people look at you, they fact check you, they see the facts, and they say, yeah, I just don't like that, so I'm just not going to believe you. Now it's the exact opposite. But back then, you're Aleister Crowley, you're rolling around saying, you know what, I invented the Bugatti Veyron, I also invented gravity, and the world is actually named after my middle name.
Yeah.
And everyone would be like, yeah, cars.
He'd never lie.
Ever. Why would he lie? He gets nothing from saying all those things. It's just a free penthouse in Egypt, Cairo. Cairo,
it wasn't a free, but yes, they paid for it. Well, it was their temple too. Remember, they're worshiping the Egyptian deities.
A little confusing. I'm not sure I follow his theology here.
Yeah, it's hard to follow. There's a lot going on.
All over the place.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Crowley reported that he had mystical experiences while he was in Cairo.
I bet he did.
And he wrote a prose poem called, quote, The Book of Law.
Red fish, two fish, one book of law, blue fish.
Right. Somehow, he claimed that it had been dictated to him over 3 days by a being that he called, I believe it's pronounced Aiwass, Aiwass. It was supposedly his personal messenger from the Egyptian god Horus, who spoke to him for 3 days.
What is that religion? Just Egyptian? What is the
ancient Egyptian?
Ancient Egyptian. Is that the name of the
I know Horus is like an ancient Egyptian. Aiwass was his personal messenger.
I've legitimately always wondered what the name of Egyptian religion is.
I think it's just ancient Egyptian.
Okay, well,
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
Prescribes to ancient Egyptian. Methinks like the whatever his name is, Jar Jar Binks. I think that if he had gone back in time, I don't think the Egyptians would have let him become a part of their religion. Strikes me as they didn't have that available to people who weren't Egyptian.
Not sure.
Don't think so.
Yeah, that's why he was there.
Kind of like the whole kind of a real long process to become like an actual Jew a long time ago. Like if you weren't born, you kind of weren't really a part of the group.
Yeah, I don't know.
Feel like it's the same way. Feel like kind of the same. The exclusivity thing probably applied.
Well, that's what they were doing in Egypt.
That's nice.
The most important thing was that he wrote this, quote, Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. A total ripoff of what the French author Francois Rabelais had already been saying for, hundreds of years at that point.
Yeah.
But alas, he rebranded it.
Of course.
And he saw the law of Thelema. And as the pursuit of everyone's will, unconstrained by popular opinion, law, or conventional ethics. So basically, his entire religion was hedonism.
Yeah, he just discovered hedonism.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That was his religion. The basis, the very
Hedonism.
basis of, from what I was able to interpret, yes. Personally. Hedonism.
Wow. That's so incredible.
He made this prose the basis of his newly founded religion, and in Greek, Thelema, I believe.
Thelema. It's just the llama.
Thelema.
Just llama. The llama.
In Greek, this means will.
Of course.
The Book of Law was accepted as a piece of scripture by the Ordo Templi Orientis, a mysterious Germanic occult organization, which apparently verifies occult
So
groups.
these guys have an international business association.
They got an LLC set up.
They have a business association
Shared bank account.
that reviews. They have an FDA. You serious?
I don't know.
Really?
I didn't do deep dive in the Germanic.
Well, I'm just look. This is this goes back to how silly this is. I get people take this very seriously. Fine. Take it seriously. Don't care. With that being said, silly. It's all silly. Because I think those things, look, if you're really going to be hedonistic, you know what shouldn't involve itself in hedonism? Any rules whatsoever. You're contradicting yourself. Because hedonism is literally the exploitation and pursuit of pleasure at any cost.
Well, he didn't say hedonism. I said that.
Yeah, but sure. If that's what his principle is, who cares if some occult organization comes in and says, yeah, well, this is legit.
Doesn't matter. They were off to the races because it was approved.
They got their branding. They got the Better Business Bureau version of A++.
That's right.
That's great.
On July 28th, 1905... his wife, Rose, gave birth to Lilith, his first child. But while traveling all over the world, he learned that his daughter had died of typhoid when he wasn't there. Whoops. Dad of the year. Yeah. Remember, I told you he was mountaineering.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. Letting
doing other stuff too.
Die. That's great.
But Rose was becoming a full-blown alcoholic.
I mean,
this man is a husband and her daughter dying.
Parents of the year.
Yeah.
Definitely people that you should follow.
Crowley actually blamed Rose for Lilith's death.
He
said that despite her alcoholism, Rose gave birth to a second daughter, Lola, which is very a la Adam Levine, considering he was sleeping with an actress named Vera, quote, nicknamed Lola Neville at the time. They named the daughter the same name as a woman he was sleeping with. That's just me dissecting that. And I was like, wait a second. I've heard this story recently.
Yeah, he's never...
when did I hear that?
He's never going to escape that, nor he should.
I mean, I don't know if that was actually the connection
No,
there.
I know, but just, like, you brought him up. He shouldn't escape it. It should be the stamp of approval on his identity, because it's hilarious. Honestly, truthfully. To anybody out there considering destroying their lives, just to do it. Just do it in the most legal way possible. No one will judge you. You want to go...
You didn't do anything illegal.
I mean, divorce.
Oh, yeah.
Do it in the legal way possible. Just literally end it. Take the chin punch and then go on. Because how did any of this come out? And if he wasn't doing all that stuff and like, I'm the greatest husband of all time. Like if he wasn't doing that type of stuff.
You're talking about Adam Levine.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Aleister Crowley. I'm talking about Adam Levine. We brought him up. If he wasn't doing all that stuff, people wouldn't care.
Yeah.
This is literally just the proper A plus B plus C equals D, equation here. Easy.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
But that is strange with Aleister naming his child after his...
I don't know if he named the child after the girl. I just noticed. I was like, wait a second. That's the same name as his daughter.
A little bit of a coinkydink. I don't know how popular that name was at the time.
Yeah. Well, Crowley, again, he blamed his wife for the death of his firstborn. They weren't getting along, as you can possibly guess.
So what did he do?
They divorced in 1909. Mm-hmm. Rose won full custody of Lola. But the grounds of this divorce, he actually filed, and he referenced his own adultery when he filed.
Tactful.
Which, okay.
I mean, for Lola's sake,
Honesty.
Probably the best thing, to be honest with you.
Well, Rose was committed to an institution in 1911.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
So where did Lola go?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Don't ask me questions. The depths of history, we don't know.
Don't ask me questions I can't answer. But it goes to say that, yes, he was adulterous. He took many lovers, men, women, didn't matter to him. And sex magic was his thing. He was sexing all over the place, as one would say, basically with everyone at that point.
What?
Sex magic.
What does that even entail? What is he like?
So
you know what? Wait. You know what I imagine?
Know.
Yeah. You know what I imagine? This is what I imagine. He's sitting in a room. Rose is up the stairs. You get some sexy music playing in the background. For some reason, it's Kenny G. You walk in, the door opens. Crowley's sitting there, shirtless, pantsless.
Ugh.
He has a sheet that's hovering in front of him.
Oh, God.
Not sure why, but you can probably guess.
No.
And all of a sudden, he pulls out a deck of cards. He says,
pick a card.
Pick a card.
Any card.
Any card. Is this your card? That's what I imagine sex magic to be. Because what else could it possibly be? We're not talking like Anastasia here. We're like, what's his name in the bell? Oh, the Rasputin. Like, Master Rasputin. Damn it. Like, we're not talking about Rasputin here because Rasputin.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're not talking Rasputin. All right. So, like, what else would it be? What else could it possibly be? Like, is he?
To be honest, I did not dive into the.
I don't want you to. I'm just saying, was he completely in his birthday suit, and all of a sudden, like, he pulls out this long tray, and there's this girl, and her head's on one side, and her feet are on the other, and then he takes out a fake saws across, and opens it up, and oh my God, she's two people at the same time. Like, that's like, what else? I don't know what that means. It's such an obscure. Does anyone know what that means? Is it such an obscure?
Listen, you can
term?
probably find out if you really want to know. You can probably Google this.
Yeah, but you could Google 3-card Monty and think that someone's playing with you, and you have no idea what they're doing.
Well, enough with the sex magic for just a moment here.
That'd be a great song.
We'll come back to it though. Don't worry. In 1914.
Oh, great! The best time in American history, except before World War II.
It wasn't until World War I that Crowley left Europe and he left to reside in the United States of America.
I wonder why. Was he running from something?
Maybe the World War going on?
That's what I'm getting at.
Yes. Settling in New York City at first, he continued to practice. Oh, we're right back at it. He was practicing sex magic.
I really want to know what that means because it sounds hilarious.
We'll have to find out.
I don't know. I mean, like, I genuinely, I think
I might need to delete my browser history, though.
It sounds hilarious because it's like when people talk about a Ouija board, right? Made by, what was it? Hasbro.
Or I think Bot or whatever.
Anyway, it made a game. Mm-hmm. And people look at, whoa. It's the same. It's like the same thing. It's giving credence to something that it doesn't exist. Well, you're basically what you're doing is you're pretending. Because last time I checked, because we have the technology today. When producing this sex magic, you say, if you are not raising people from the dead and don't have evidence of it, I don't believe you. You're playing pretend.
I don't know. He loved it though. He did it with female prostitutes.
I bet he did.
Did it with men in bathhouses.
Male prostitutes? Feels a little exclusive here.
I mean, he was.
Where's the representation?
He had sex with men and women.
Where's the representation?
Well, men in bathhouses. Typically, men were in bathhouses at the time. It wasn't exactly like broadcast from the rooftops.
Pre-YMCA. Anyway.
He contributed to a pro-German newspaper at the time.
Yikes. Yikes.
Called The Fatherland.
Oh, bigger yikes.
And, yeah, you can imagine all the things you want about that. This
literally goes back to this extremism stuff that I'm always talking about, where it's like, guys, you just gotta pull back, or all of a sudden you're gonna start using terms that are not desirable terms and contributing to papers that are not desirable papers. Yeah. Even if you win, like, you gotta take a step back from the pool that you are wading into head first. You gotta take a step backwards because you're not in the real world.
Well, he moved just not as much as L. Ron Hubbard, but all across the United States. He was down California's west coast, in New Orleans, Louisiana, Florida, back up the Hudson River, all over the place. But after the war, in 1920, Crowley returned to Europe.
Oh, great.
And he then moved to the beautiful Italian island of Sicily.
The place that wasn't affected at all. I went to the place, I just avoided all cataclysm, because that is what I do.
Money, baby. Gets you out of war. Which is true, for the most part. There, he converted his home into the Abbey of
Thelema.
Or Thelema.
The Llama.
His religion, the name.
An actual llama.
The Abbey of Thelema. This is the religion's new headquarters. By the way, this is still standing today, if you want to Google what it looks like now.
Is it still the headquarters?
It's uninhabited. It's like just look up a picture.
It's a historical thing that's haunted now.
Basically.
That's very cool.
But there he wrote the book called The Diary of a Drug Fiend, and he published it in 1922. By this point, he was also very, very addicted to heroin. He was prescribed this drug for his asthma,
For his asthma.
Yes.
In asthma.
In 1920s.
Again, how? How are we here? Honestly, look, people look at like the separation of atoms and the creation of like the splitting of atoms and the creation of nuclear bombs is like the question of why we're here. No, I look at medicine and I look at a couple hundred years ago and I think little kids get a cold and they're like, just give them mercury. How are we here?
Just inject mercury right into his veins.
Just slit his throat and bleed out the disease.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Remember, isn't that interesting that
miracle.
Is likely how George Washington died? He was getting bloodletted.
It's interesting that someone thought that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like legit. It is the same. That is, Jen, that is like someone saying, you know what, this person hasn't eaten enough food.
Wait, wasn't ketchup like a medicinal thing at one point?
Yes. It's just sugar. It's literally just sugar. Instead, maybe, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But
there's a lot of sugar in ketchup.
Lycopene. I know the sugar is ketchup. I just didn't know if it was a medicine or not. It sounds right. Coca-Cola probably was too at some point. It's like if someone's like starving and they need food. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing they need because you can look at their body and it's emaciated. And the doctor shows up and he says, he's dying all right. We should cut off his limbs.
Mm. Heroin.
It just doesn't.
Hell of a drug.
It just doesn't make any sense. Heroin, I could see that like being like something that people, because they gave like versions of meth to soldiers in World War I and World War II. Like I get it, but I also don't get it because doctors should know the effects of what they're giving people. They should know. Wink, wink. They should know these things by their occupation.
Calm down, soldier. Okay. Yeah. We're going to move on from that one.
How do we exist? How do we exist?
In this Sicilian abbey, they wore robes. They worshipped the Egyptian sun god Ra. Yeah. You've heard of Ra before, right? R-A. Yeah.
Definitely don't want my steak that way.
Ha, ha, ha. So he encouraged the children of his followers to actually watch the acts of sex magic.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're stopping. Nope. This is done. End of the episode. We can. Okay.
He was heavily into drugs. His nose cavity actually began to erode from the heavy use of cocaine.
Good.
And wild cats and dogs would roam throughout this building. I'll show you a photo of what this looks like. Maybe we'll post it on our Instagram too, because you can see it's like very dilapidated today.
Just send me a photo. I can create a cool little graphic thing for it.
But at one point, Crowley did recognize that his heroin addiction was kind of like getting a little extreme. He tried to kick it. He went back to Europe, tried to kick it. I don't know if he went to like a rehab or what.
What does that mean?
But it didn't work out. Okay. All I'm saying is that at some point he did recognize that he had a drug problem and he tried to, quote, fix it, which is interesting considering his whole thing is like just take pleasure in whatever.
Okay, so this strikes me.
It didn't work out. He kept doing drugs.
This strikes me the same type of person we talked about a little bit ago. They don't buy their own stuff. They're full of poopy.
Well, this is where it gets like really dark. Okay. In 1923, a young follower of his religion named Raoul Loveday apparently died after a ritual, and the British press caught wind of the situation, and they deemed Crowley as, quote, the wickedest man in the world. Crowley was appalled. How could they say this? His work freed the men of the earthly rules and restrictions and opened them up to spiritual experiences. Well, do you want to know how this man died?
Not particularly, but why not?
Listener discretion is advised.
We already... Yeah.
The exact details haven't been laid out, but it's been said that he consumed the blood of a cat.
Why?
And according to Loveday's wife, he would often drink from the polluted stream of water that was nearby and forced to cut himself every time he used the pronoun I. So probably an accumulation of all these things resulted in him dying. It was like a ritualistic thing.
Yeah. And at no point in time at all, this person didn't think to say, maybe not.
Here's the thing. Those are what his wife, who was not a fan of Crowley, said was going on. Crowley never said exactly what happened.
Of course he didn't.
But definitely someone died who was a follower of him doing some sort of ritual. And yeah, the press went wild, as they should have, you know? Actually, it's kind of interesting.
The most wicked person?
Well, this should put it in perspective for you. This is 1923.
Okay, yeah, I see what's coming.
The Italian fascist government under Mussolini actually kicked him out because of this.
Yeah, but you know what? He was kind of like the kettle black guy, calling him kettle black.
Sure, I'm no fan of
like Mussolini.
F-boy Mussolini.
I mean, like a guy like all these guys are kind of in the same category of people.
Yeah.
A lot of projection, you know?
It's a bunch of nasty people. But
yeah,
Great Britain was disgusted. Italy was disgusted. Crowley was kicked out of Sicily. And they banned him from returning ever again. So obviously his abbey was shut down and the group dispersed. And yeah, the remains are still in Sicily today of that abbey. Google it if you'd like. I do not recommend actually going because as far as I'm concerned, it's like not, like I don't think you can, it's not like on a museum or anything like that. It looks like from what I've seen, just an old dilapidated building.
Who owns it?
I don't know. I didn't go that far. Just, again, don't ask me questions. I can't answer.
Interesting.
Okay? Yeah. So back to England.
I bet you the Italian government owns it.
Maybe.
I bet you they knew he was doing things.
So we traveled around for a while, but in the late 1920s, Crowley convinced a Nicaraguan woman named Maria Teresa Sanchez to marry him. The two of them then relocated to England.
What happened to... Oh,
Rose is an institution by this point.
Yeah.
It seems that there were rumors that he actually worked as a British spy during the World Wars because he traveled so much, and he did rub elbows with Ian Fleming, Roald Dahl, but none of this has actually been confirmed. But it is like rumored, like a big rumor that he somehow was a British spy.
It wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me at all. This seems right up the alleyway of people that... You're a British spy? Oh, I never saw that coming. It just seems kind of, you know.
I don't know. I mean,
but there's a lot of characters.
There's a rabbit hole there if you ever want to dive down.
Yeah, but there's a lot of characters in history where it's kind of like this person was so odd.
Yeah,
you know,
odd for sure.
That's why I think L. Ron Hubbard. I think that was I really do think that was an inside thing.
Maybe
because it just makes a lot of sense.
In the 1930s, Crowley had dwindled his inheritance down to basically nothing. What a shame.
Darn.
He lived lavishly. He didn't invest anything. He was just an idiot with money.
Hey.
Oh, was that too harsh? He was to the guy who fed cat blood to a foul follower?
A silly goober, okay? This is an innocent silly goober.
Dumb. My personal opinion. Remember that. Okay. He was largely sorry, I think my notes got
you had an aneurysm here.
Yeah.
Very interesting phrasing of words that I've never seen in that way before.
What I'm trying to say was, if you remember the L. Ron Hubbard episode, John Whiteside Jack Parson, who L. Ron Hubbard stole Sarah from in Pasadena, California, the rocket scientist guy. Crowley was largely living off of all of the donations from Parsons. Like, he was living in Europe and getting the money sent to him from Parsons, who had his little Thelema sect in Southern California. So that's where he was getting basically all of his money from.
How did they meet?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
How were they at a country club? Did they go to a birthday party? Was Crowley? Was he showing up?
I should have got that information.
Truly, how in the hell did this Gilbar from the Thelema organization make his way to Southern California? Again, it's back to California.
A guy knew a guy.
It is back to that garbage pit.
A guy knew a guy knew a guy.
Everything seems to arise from that place.
Including us. Which is true.
I just don't understand. It attracts some interesting.
They always say that you can find anyone to do anything in Southern California.
Yeah.
Which I 100% agree with.
How?
Anything. Literally anything. You can find like 10 people who will agree.
Oh God. Here we go. Okay. Well,
yeah, this is about to get...
Yeah, this is not monetized. Okay. Here we go.
Disgustingly, Crowley was intrigued by Nazism.
It always comes back to that. It is literally...
However, remember, he's living... This is among the world wars, right? He later would call Adolf Hitler the Black Magician, quote, when he found out that the guy was not converting to Thelema, because someone told him that Adolf Hitler was interested in his religion, and he got really upset when Hitler was like, nah.
Hitler had his own thing. Okay?
Yeah, I know. All of you belong at the same dinner table.
Well, how this guy didn't realize that is it doesn't baffle me. He didn't finish college. So it imply he got good grades, but decided not to finish. Look.
And he was like, it was not a financial strain.
It was just, I'm no longer interested. I mean, like,
and it's not like he went on to like,
he had the foresight to create a religion called the Llama, which was successful enough.
The Llama
was successful enough to have some people, maybe still does, who cares? But
I think
he didn't have who cares? He didn't have the foresight to realize that maybe, just maybe, the guy responsible for the deaths of millions of Jewish people would not be interested in his silly little religion. Yeah. So his ego, in addition to being a bitch, his ego was also wildly out of control.
Yeah. Yeah, it's shocking. His ego was
all
out of
just
control.
literally just what can I check off on the personal conduct list that makes me the most predictable person of all time?
Yeah.
I'm just going to fill out the Wii U version of human and just check all the bad guy lists. Like, that one, I will be a racist. Yeah, that one. I'll probably also like hate women. I'll be that one too. Yeah, all that stuff. I'll just check it all off.
Yeah. In 1944.
Predictable.
In 1944, Crowley published the Book of Thoth.
Oh my God, these names.
Where he interpreted a new tarot card deck. And he designed it with Frieda Harris, an artist.
Of course, Frieda Harris. Why wouldn't he?
Nearing the end of his days, Crowley worked as a medium to those who would listen to him still. And he would read tarot cards with his Book of Thoth. You know, tarot card readings. That's what he did. Yeah. Aleister Crowley would read tarot cards towards the end of his death, or towards the end of his life. Excuse me. We're getting to the death, though. You ready for that part? You ready to end this?
If only Star Wars had been created around this time, because I'm sure he would have sued LucasArts for the use of Hoth. I'm positive.
Well, it's Thoth.
Yeah, but he probably would have found a way to do it.
Maybe. On December 1st.
And of course, he died in December. Great.
December 1st, 1947. After having squandered away his entire fortune, spent most of his life chasing occultism, Crowley died alone, disgraced, and addicted to heroin while living in poverty in Hastings, East Sussex, England. He was 72 years old. He likely died of chronic bronchitis, and his funeral was only attended by a very few amount of his closest friends that they actually called the funeral the Black Mass. And friends and family assured the public that didn't matter what you thought of him, Aleister Crowley wouldn't have wanted to be remembered fondly anyway.
Wow, dude.
So
what
emo.
an edgy bro. He was like the first emo, dude.
Yeah.
I can't with this dude.
It's just interesting too, because he was so famous for this like stuff he was doing, and then no one showed up to his Black Mass. Yeah.
They wouldn't have anyway. I mean, because they were so edgy. Why care?
Well, it's also 1947 in England.
Yeah, dude.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, bro. Like, you know?
Yeah. Well, his ashes were buried in Hampton, New Jersey, after Carl Bremer, who was his chosen successor, got his ashes. Did as he said, New Jersey. And it wasn't until his passing that he truly became like this major name. It was just amazing that none of his followers showed up. But that his name became really big after.
I mean, if you're the only one invited to your birthday party.
Yeah, well.
Like you get a big group of one, you know?
Well, you brought him up earlier, and he has been known culturally afterwards because, you know, the Beatles, they famously had an image of Aleister Crowley on their album cover for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And Jimmy Page, the lead guitarist of Led Zeppelin, purchased a house near Loch Ness that was originally owned by Aleister Crowley. Mr. Crowley in the what's his name? Ozzy Osbourne song. Yeah. So he died in 47, but after his death, his name got
because it's a taboo thing. Like it is like.
I agree. I think that in music, it's like you latch onto taboo figures, especially someone like Ozzy Osbourne and even the Beatles.
Well, yeah, I guess so overrated. But it's a taboo thing. I mean, like I don't think look. Obviously, here on History Out of the Box, we consider all the aspects of people and try to give them the clearest light that we can without.
That's right. We should have maybe given him a little more credence. But I had a really hard time with this one. There's still people today, by the way, who do practice Thelema. They call themselves Thelemites.
Thelemites.
And they practice his tarot card reading, interpretation.
Wow, well, that's great.
And that's what people do. But here's the thing. This guy died alone, penniless, and he was a bit of an a-hole to everyone around him. So I don't really feel sorry for kind of painting him in a light.
Well, you can't really.
But at the same time, I feel like a lot of it, without my opinion attached, was pretty bad.
You can't really,
generally.
You can't really paint poop in a good light, okay? So it's going to be poop anyway.
Bottom line is that I don't know how many lives he changed for the better. But some people might disagree with me.
Can we get through spooky season? I'm tired of these people.
I have already finished the notes for our next person.
Because I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired. Like, look, they're interesting. They're about as interesting as watching paint dry. All right, like, wait. L. Ron Hubbard, interesting because he did so many things. Like, the guy was like everywhere at all points of time. But didn't have that ability to like raise people from the dead, quote unquote. So like not really the level that he thought that he isn't. But just
Vlad the Impaler was just gruesome and horrible.
Well, Vlad the Impaler is interesting though too because he's like the representation, like he's Romania, like right. So it's like he's kind of impactful there as an interesting aspect. He's historical. It's kind of just spooky because he was gruesome and horrible. But other than that, like interesting in that level. This guy was just a douchebag. And I mean that like you can say that about literally anybody who's done terrible things. You look at the people who are like lauding over what's his face, Jeffrey Dahmer, all those people. It's like, you guys, you're just worshiping a douchebag. That's all you're doing. Like
it's the nicest way I can put it.
Like literally, like it's not admirable to be so contrarian that you start worshiping a douchebag.
I'm also not a fan of a guy who like was a fan of Nazism.
Yeah, not a big fan of that.
I don't think that's hot of a take.
No, it's not. I mean, there's so many different takes about this guy where it's like, I know the type of person he is because I've met these type of people where they just seem attracted like flies to shit.
Well, it seems like my interpretation of the situation seemed like this obviously young boy was upset that his father died, and that's not
he threw a temper tantrum his entire life.
That's not an excuse either. There's plenty of people who lose their parents in terrible ways when they're young, who don't turn out like this kind of person. He literally
threw a temper tantrum against basic culture his entire life.
That's my point. It seemed like he acted out on purpose as hard as he could until he died. Yeah. Well, that's
like
what I got from it.
This is what anyone listening or watching this now or in the future. For those of you who are throwing temper tantrums, boo hoo. Get with the program. Everyone has shit thrown in their face at some point in time. And if you don't want to deal with it, that's on you. Yeah. You can choose to not be this guy or follow this guy. Like, look, for occultish purposes, it's a lot more spooky people. Because, look, he got in trouble because one of his friends, like, chose to drink tainted water and cat blood. Yeah. On a scale of bad things, like this is already an explicit episode. So on a scale of bad things, this guy was just a man whore and he told and convinced people to do disgusting things. Like eat your own poop. Ooh.
I don't know if he said eat your own poop.
Well, I'm just, it's anecdotal. It's relative. I'm just making a comparison. It's not cause. It's not it's corollary. It's not causation. Okay. So my whole thing is, it's just 1 out of 10. No, negative 10. He's on the bottom of the list out of all the people. Out of all the people. He's the PP out of all the people. He's in the bottom of the list. Not my favorite. Never want to talk about him again. And it's not because I'm afraid of him. It's not because he's spooky. It's because you had a lot of money. You didn't do anything with the money. You started a failed religion that had a small amount of people who now play with tarot cards, which, no offense to tarot card people, I know you're in on the joke because I'm in on the joke with you. You know that it's not legit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be going to parties. Okay? If it was real, you wouldn't be paid like a court jester. Just saying. And if you had an occupation for it, you wouldn't be charging people because you're so powerful. You could just get money by convincing people to give it to you, right? Like actually convincing you instead of reading their, like trading some sort of time. Like this is the thing. This is the thing I just don't think people put together. If you're a wizard, you don't barter. You don't barter. If you're evil, you don't make agreements. If you're really that powerful, you don't say, you know what, I'll trade you. You just take it.
All right. On that note.
Just saying. Sorry, this got me riled up. This guy, Aleister Crowley. Love the song by Ozzy Osbourne, but not my favorite character. He looks like the cop from Breaking Bad.
Oh.
He literally looks like the guy who chased, what's his name?
I haven't watched Breaking Bad. So
the bald guy.
I wouldn't know. But I do have good news for you.
He's dead.
He is dead. But the next person we're talking about, in preparation, just to get you excited.
Anxiety.
No, this person I'm really excited to talk about. It is the famous Sacagawea. And if you're like, who? Commonly pronounced Sacagawea or Sacagawea, but I will be referring to her as Sacagawea for reasons I will explain in the next episode. And I'm really excited to talk about her. I think it's going to be a really good one. I know it's going to be a really good one. So stay tuned.
I have aged. This episode, I can't even say D anymore. This episode has aged me.
See yourself right now to the doctor or an unqualified doctor like me, and I prescribe you candy, a good dinner, and your favorite show tonight after you listen or watch this episode.
Yes. To me, your co-host being on this episode, learning about this guy who I stupidly suggested.
This was your suggestion.
In a dumb Halloween spirit of trying to be spooky, I picked this wet fart of an individual. It's like I just ate a bowl of lima beans for fun. Lima beans. With nothing on them. No salt, no pepper. They're not cooked. Lima beans.
Just boiled lima beans?
Not even boiled. They're uncooked lima beans. I just ate them for my enjoyment. That's literally what this is like.
I'm so sorry.
And look, I know there's people out there. Aleister Crowley was the pro. I don't care. Don't care. This face, right here. This face, right here. Don't care. Don't care what you think. Honestly. So many other people. Yeah. Like, so many. Anyway, I'm going to get out of this funk. After being, I don't know, like, functified by Mr. Poopy Pants. If you somehow liked what you heard or saw, yeah, you know what to do.
Listen, if you didn't like it, I'm telling you right now, you're going to love the next episode.
Yeah,
it's all about someone who I'm really, really excited to talk about.
This is the only time where I would tell people, like, if you could rewind this time to get this time back, I would suggest it. And I'm not going to put that in the description. I want people to listen to it. But still, like, depressing. Just not fun.
The next one's not going to be.
So if you want to, yeah, we're going to have a few good ones come out soon.
I have it lined up. We're really excited.
We got some really good ones.
Like I said, sneak peek, Sacagawea. She's coming up next.
I'm sorry in advance. And with that being said, if you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, go ahead and follow us on Instagram. And you can go ahead and watch us on YouTube if you want. And you can subscribe. We have episodes every week on Tuesdays for audio and on Wednesdays for video. Now I'm gonna eat a full bowl of Twix bars. I'm just gonna eat the full bowl.
Happy Halloween, everybody!
In one setting. Happy Halloween! Happy Halloween! It's Halloween! Yeah, Halloween! Yeah, I can't wait till Christmas. I don't want to talk about these guys anymore because I am so tired of Halloween people.
Yeah.
Just that demographic of just these people. I'm just tired of them. And next year we'll talk about them again. But going forward, this is going to be positive history time. This is going to be positive history time with Cam and Jen. We're going to talk about some of the famous people that you've probably heard of, that you might have interpretations and impersonations of that are not very good. Because you just don't know. You just don't know. So we're here on History Out of the Box to tell you more about why you should probably learn a little bit more about some people in history. Good, bad, and sometimes the ugly. Like today, Aleister Crowley, one ugly son of a bitch. With that being said, I hope you tune in next week so we can talk about someone who is actually impactful, more so than the cancer that was Aleister Crowley. So we'll keep an eye out, just like you should, for the next episode. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.